Now let's go to the Knicks Pacers, where Tyrese Haliburton got it going again. And it was great to see Tyrese Haliburton get it going again, because I don't know if you guys have noticed this season, but Haliburton has not quite been the same guy we saw a season ago. 14.7 points, 4.6 rebounds, 7.7 assists per game entering tonight. Was shooting just 37.9% from the field. Really, really struggling to get it going at this point. What was going on? What do we think was happening here? I think that the big key why Haliburton has struggled a bit this year is generally that he has not been as good of a threat to score. And if he is not quite the threat to score, he is not a consistent enough nuclear athlete or not consistent enough at separating to be able to just consistently collapse defenses and then be able to spray the ball out. Like Tyrese Haliburton over the course of the last 2 years, he averaged 10.4 assists per game, 10.9 assists per game, 9.6 assists per game in that little, 26 game sample with Indiana in 2021-22 after he had gotten traded for Domantas Sabonis. I think that you can see why he was averaging fewer assists, and it was largely because the scoring just wasn't quite at the level that we have seen from him. And in large part, that's because of the shooting. He hasn't shot it well. He shot 25.4% from three this season. Last season, when Haliburton was rolling, and I mean like really rolling early in the season, when he was a very genuine candidate for MVP through the first, I don't know what we want to call it, 30 games, necessarily 33 games is when he went out. So his first 32 games last season, Haliburton averaged 24 points, 4 rebounds, 12.7 assists, but he took 17 shots a game, shot 49.6% from the field and 40% from three on 8.6 attempts, with a number of those being pull-up shots. If he is not making pull-up jumpers, he is not as effective as he needs to be as a player. And the Pacers have built everything around him at this point. Their entire scheme is based on Tyrese Haliburton being able to separate and being able to run in transition, being able to play at an unbelievable level. He's their centerpiece. He's their leader. He's the guy that was on the Olympic team this year. They need him to be great. So far this year, he hadn't been great. He played 9 games. He was shooting 38, 25, 75. Tonight, he scored 35 points. So let's dive in and talk about what Haliburton did well. And yes, I apologize to Knicks fans in advance. This is going to be another video where we talk a bit about Karl Anthony Towns and their ball screen defense. Okay. So here, early hit ahead from Haliburton up to Siakam. And I think this is the one that kind of got him going a little bit. Just seeing that bucket go in early, confident. So what happens here? The Knicks just have like absolutely no idea who they're picking up, it feels like to me. They're kind of overloaded on one side. I think McHale, my guess is, given the way that OG and Towns are kind of reacting here, my guess, given how overloaded they are, is that McHale trailing here should be over here. And he kind of recognizes it right now when I have him on the screen. You can see him looking over at Haliburton. But he doesn't really recognize it. There are different ways that teams pick up in transition. Some teams really try to avoid the big having to pick up a guard in transition. Some teams just pick up and say, hey, wherever you are in terms of how loaded the side is of the court, you go 1, you go 2, you go 3, hard on the ball, and then they've got a trailer here somewhere back here. Different ways to do it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know exactly what Tibbs is telling them in terms of who you're picking up. But that's just not good enough. You have to do something here at the end of the day. You have to absolutely do something to stop this. Haliburton, you get into an Enrique Freeman kind of dribble handoff action. And again, I mean, Jericho Sims, God love him, tries very hard. He's just not quite big enough to be able to play and drop right. Good screen there on Mikal Bridges. I will note, Bryce and I talked about it earlier on the podcast. Mikal has not been as good defensively as we've seen previously. I think that he doesn't look quite as fluid through the hips right now. Like Mikal Bridges used to slither around these screens like this quite easily. This is a good screen here from Enrique Freeman. I don't want to sit here and like act like it wasn't, but I mean, for him to just completely lose momentum like this, it just totally takes him out of the play. Deuce tries to get back into it. They almost try and look like they're going to peel switch this. Deuce goes here. Bridges goes out. But it's just too late at this point, given where Jericho is in the drop. Doesn't even try and contest in any way. Just goes to box out. Haliburton again. They get the switch. How do they get the switch here? This was their bread and butter the whole game. Miles Turner, Tyrese Haliburton, 1-5 ball screens. Didn't matter who was guarding Haliburton. Did matter if Towns was on Turner or not. We'll talk about that. But what happens here? Bridges makes this stunt step here. It's not really a stunt step. He's icing this screen, knowing that Turner is coming to screen here, where they're trying to bring this ball down here toward Towns. That's the goal. That's what Tibbs likes to do defensively. Icing ball screens. The problem is that when you have a big who can step away and shoot from three like Turner, all that this ends up being is a peel switch where Bridges has to guard him as opposed to continuing to crowd Haliburton and continuing to bring him this way toward the baseline. The problem is that if Towns goes back now and recovers back to Turner, well, he's just giving this up. So it has to be a peel switch. It has to. And now you've just got to switch with Karl Towns, who has not been very good defensively this year, onto Haliburton. And it's just an easy shot. It's too easy. Drills a step back three. That one, I don't really even blame on Towns. Like, that's just their scheme. And having Towns onto Haliburton is just a bad matchup for Towns. It's fine. It's just not the reality of a good situation. So Bridges is going to miss this one. Rebound. And the thing Haliburton just does better than almost anybody in the NBA is push and transition. Just goes, immediately sprints. Now we've got another 1-5 ball screen. This is truly one of the most audacious, insane, absurd shots. There have been guys around the league trying to do this year. James Harden's tried to take this like running floater three. I've seen Trae Young do it. Trae Young did it 2 nights ago in what was that? Hawks played, was it the Rockets? Maybe, I can't remember who the team was, but he tried to do it like in the middle of a competitive game, and it was a choice. I don't totally agree with that as a decision, but I mean, hey, if you can make it, I'm not going to sit here and complain. He just gets Deuce on his back. He knows that Towns is in drop, so he's going to have time to get this thing off. Too easy. Drills it. And you can see him point. He knows how ridiculous this shot is. He absolutely knows how ridiculous this shot is, and he still drills it. All right. That's how you know he was feeling it tonight. So here, early screen. Again, you see Bridges get caught on this screen. I just don't think this is a screen he gets caught on a couple years ago. I think that's the biggest issue with him defensively right now. Haliburton feels Brunson come out onto him, but he also feels Mikal here kind of sitting and waiting, seeing if he can get back to him and seeing if Brunson can get all the way back out here to Jackson, right? Doesn't do it. Gets right into Brunson's space. Brunson fouls him, goes to the line. This is where the 1-5 ball screens continue. Again, just gets Bridges on his back. A little bit too easy, right? DHO. Wide angle around the screen there from Bridges, again, because I feel like he's not quite slithering around those screens in the same way. That's why he gets onto Tyrese's back here, right? And then with Towns, Towns does not allow Turner to get behind him. You've got Anunoby here, who is available for the tag. To me, personally, I think Towns needs to have his hands like going toward Haliburton a little bit, just trying to bother him just slightly. Instead, he just like kind of grabs Turner and gives up the open, easy mid-range floater that we know Haliburton can make at any time. So this was weird because they were showing Carlisle. The Indiana broadcast drives me crazy and all. Or is this? No, this is MSG. MSG drives me crazy because they do all of the, insert shots of let's look at Rick Carlisle, let's look at Tibbs, let's look at Clyde and Breen and those guys. Kind of see the game and see how the sets like kind of get rolling. So here, one thing we talked about on the last video with Towns, he is anticipating early some of these side ball screens and kind of getting out there a step before he should. Haliburton here just rejects this screen. Personally, again, Bridges probably needs to stay in front, but when he doesn't, Haliburton's able to get all the way downhill and score. Another high ball screen. Deuce gets back in front. I mean, he at least fights, but this is hard because here's the issue. Towns needs to be in drop here, right? Needs to be in drop somewhere. I get why he's not. He is worried about Turner. But if you're going to play this way, it's valid to play this way. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know what Tibbs told them at halftime or in the third quarter. Hey, stay attached to this guy. Make them fight back. If you're going to do that, though, you need to have available help here. And this is where the structure of Indiana's offense is so elite, right? So let's say here that Towns plays in a full drop and decides to step up. If that's the case, you have a 1-on-2 on the backside here that Haliburton can certainly hit. Immediately, we'll adjust colors here. Anunoby has to kind of step here so that he can get potentially to Turner or to the corner shooter, who I think might be Mathurin, maybe. Yeah. But he has to make a choice. This is a lot of ground to cover here onto two pretty real shooters. So if he's in drop, that puts in a 1-on-2 situation, and there are very few players in the NBA capable of hitting and taking advantage of 1-on-2 situations in the way that Haliburton is. Now, this is where, again, the structure is valuable. Let's say he's not going to play in drop. Let's say they're going to switch this. Let's say that they didn't switch it here, but let's say that you're going to have Deuce try and get back in recovery. In reality, you need one of these two guys, depending on how you want to play it. If you want to next it, if you want to just have the low man here be the responsible player at the rim. There are options available to you if you don't want to rely on Towns in drop here. But if you're going to do this, someone has to help. Nobody helps. Part of the reason nobody helps is that this is Jalen Brunson here. This is where the structure of the offense is great. They have Jalen Brunson here as the low man. Siakam has filtered to the corner, knowing that Brunson is on him, meaning that if Brunson does end up being the help man, he's too small to actually contest at the basket. It's awesome offensive structure by Indiana. It's really, really good. This set is just super fun. 1-man through, 2-man through. Early screen. Haliburton, big guard to big screen, pump fake. I mean, that's just tough to guard, right? I love here. This is supposed to be a dribble handoff. Deuce McBride does an awesome job here of stopping this dribble handoff immediately. Makes them adjust. Again, this is where offensive structure is absolutely sick. Because of that little guard to guard action there, or big to guard, skilled big to guard. Deuce is in drop. Deuce is a guard. He's not super comfortable being like the quote unquote like drop defender, the big man in drop. There's a reason most of the time these are bigs. They both go towards Siakam. Bridges has to stun out, but he's alone over here. If he goes and just straight guards Haliburton, which I wouldn't have blamed him if he did, that's a long X out. It's not quite an X out, but it's a help. He has to go out and recover. It is essentially an X out. It's a long X out for McBride to get all the way to Mathurin by the time Haliburton's able to make that pass. And again, just like Towns, I mean, unsurprisingly, he's giving up like 85% at the rim this year, I think. Just not enough of a presence there. I mean, the Knicks have real problems on defense. There's not another way to put it. But the big key here is Haliburton being able to slice and dice. I mean, this one, again, it just feels like to me the Knicks don't really know exactly what they're doing. So empty side ball screen. Both Towns and Bridges go to Siakam. Can't happen. Pacers are lethal. It feels like Bridges thinks they're switching. It feels like Towns thinks that. I don't really know where Towns is going here, if I'm being honest. Towns thinks maybe they're staying home here. There's just a serious miscommunication regularly from the Knicks here on defense. And again, this time he gets Towns just in space. Right? Early ball screen, 19 seconds left on the shot clock, 1-5 pick and roll. It's too tough. I mean, that's, again, if you're going to switch it, it's not a great option against Haliburton with Towns. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn a very liberal 4.5% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth for just $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For specific product disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Let's get to a quick little note from Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money action. There are over 10 million members. Like I said a second ago, they invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks always puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. We are big fans of Prize Picks here. We absolutely love the app and what they're doing for the daily fantasy sports scene. Download the app today and use code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use that code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Now, I do want to show some of the passes here. We're not going to go like crazy with the passing. We know Tyrese Haliburton can pass, but the passing was insane from Haliburton too. This one gets the early pocket pass. I mean, again, Towns just nowhere to be seen. Bridges, I think, actually does like a pretty good job here of getting through the screen. I'm not totally sure what defensive position this is, but he's like leaned all the way over here. His feet are like here. It's just not great. He's not, taking up the pocket here with this arm. And then he has to try and recover back. Turner pump fake, gets him too easily. But again, like Haliburton's just reading all of this. He's making all of this happen. Again, ball screen. Dribble handoff maybe. No, ball screen. Looks like it's setting up to be a stagger with an early exit. So, or a, double screen. It's not really, a double drag. It's really just like a double screen here. But Turner exits early after the screen. I think Turner exits early here because you can see that Bridges gets caught. And now, because Bridges gets caught, Towns is basically in a 1-on-2 here where he has to guard both. And that's just never a spot the Knicks want to be in. Haliburton just manipulates him, makes him jump, creates the easy opportunity. I mean, you could say here very easily that, Josh Hart needs to be attached a little bit more to Miles Turner, needs to go help the helper, but I mean, that's really hard. It's a hard ask. It's a long rotation for Hunter or for Josh Hart. And that is, I mean, like Turner's in perfect position to have him sealed anyway. Now, the thing that Haliburton does best, makes decisions in transition, sees all four of the Knicks guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, go inside the paint, realizes that given that he only has 3 guys around him from the Pacers here, that he's going to have a trailer immediately. He's just literally counting bodies on this one. Drills Mathurin for 3. And yeah, this is what makes Haliburton so special. Is it's difficult to process and commit to all of that in seconds, milliseconds of time, both on defense and on offense. What makes Haliburton so special, and I think that Mr. Ray is talking about the last defensive possession we said, but like what makes Haliburton so special is he is processing all of this in real time. He is talking through this all in real time. This one, Haliburton just, again, counting bodies, right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's waiting to see, okay, Mikhail, is he going to commit to me? Cool. Is Hart going to go there? Cool. That leaves Brunson in a 1-on-2. So I just need to figure out where Jalen's going. As soon as he goes to the corner, easy 3 for Ben Mathurin. Again, this stuff isn't stuff that everybody does. Like, I'm making it seem easy, but it's not wildly easy. This one, Quentin Jackson just catches Jalen Brunson on a back cut here. Knicks have real problems on defense. I know that they were like 17th in defense coming into this game, but they don't feel that way right now, is what I would say. They feel like a bottom 6 or so defense to me when I watch them. Now we're going to get into just, 1-5s again. 1-5 exchange. Towns actually does a good job. They navigate this really, really well. They do a great job of, okay, Bridges is attached. Towns stays home. We're good here. Like, we're okay. And then Towns just ball watches and falls asleep. He just keeps walking toward Haliburton for reasons beyond my comprehension and leaves Miles Turner, who can shoot the ball way too easily. That's one that's just like so obviously on Towns. Just can't happen. Just absolutely can't happen. This one hits the easy pass to the corner here. Then we're going to get another 1-5 screen. And then just look at the Knicks scrambling, right? So we get the ball screen. What is Haliburton seeing here? They've put 2 on the ball. 1, 2. You've got a roller. That means Deuce has to be here. Deuce absolutely has to be in the lane to meet him. That means, again, from an offensive structural standpoint, on the weak side, you've got Jalen Brunson, the Knicks' weakest defender, in a 1-on-2. The Pacers just really, really kind of wreck these guys. Mathurin does the right move. Slides up. Opening up. That angle. And part of why that angle is available, by the way, is that Bridges kind of over pursues there and doesn't have his arm in the passing lane. If you're going to put 2 on the ball, especially after Haliburton picks the ball up here, you got to have your arm out into this diagonal lane here. Instead, easy 3 for Jarris Walker. Again, 1-5, rejected screen. Mikhail just gets beat here. I think that Towns does a good job on this one for what it's worth. Gets out there. They peel switch it, but Mikhail's just a little bit late on the peel. It feels like their communication isn't great yet because Mikhail takes this extra step here after Towns really commits to the peel switch. And that's what's going to ultimately lead to Turner being open. Again, 1-5, 2 on the ball. Drills it. I mean, look, like schematically, if this is what you're going to run, okay. Like if you're the Knicks, that's fine. Again, just like from a defensive perspective, Towns' arms are down, not really making an impact here. If you want to put 2 on the ball against Haliburton to try and, get the ball out of his hands, okay, that's fine. But you need to have an answer for what you're going to do rotationally if that's going to happen. And if you're going to put 2 on the ball, and that answer has to be Deuce comes here, especially with Turner having drilled multiple 3s already. And then you have to say, okay, cool. Hart's responsible for a 1-on-2 here. But Deuce has to go to Turner. That's 1 pass away. It's too easy. Again, essentially 1-5 now. Defensively, you're getting treated like a 1-5. I know that Siakam isn't necessarily the one, but they have Towns on Siakam because Turner was cooking them. Now we've just got a switch. And as we saw earlier, I mean, it's typically just not a great strategy. So what happens here? I think Towns actually does like a fairly good job. Turner comes up and sets like this little brush screen here for Shepherd to filter to the corner. And Brunson just falls by accident. It's hard. It's really, really hard. It's hard for the Knicks. Look, this is more about Haliburton, though, to me. No, it's probably about both, if I'm being honest. But this version of Tyrese Haliburton, this is the version the Pacers need to go back to the Eastern Conference Finals. And the way things are looking, the Celtics have been, the Celtics had guys out. They're not vulnerable yet. But the Cavs are 11-0. They look great. Knicks look vulnerable. The Bucks certainly look vulnerable. Sixers aren't healthy. The Pacers need that version of Haliburton, the one who just demolished the Knicks today and absolutely in every way, shape, and form carried the Pacers. That's what they need. They need him to be as great as he was in the early portion of last season in order to make a run. That's what they are building around. That's what they are building toward as an organization. And then if you're New York, I mean, look, it's hard because they're sitting here and they're 4-5, and I think people are probably freaking out. They've lost 3 of 4 against the Rockets, Hawks, and Pacers. Their wins do tend to be blowouts. Like they demolished the Bucks, they demolished the Pistons, they demolished the Pacers earlier this year. But like, I don't know. If I'm the Knicks, I'm probably trying a few different things defensively right now. I might, when Achua gets back, I might try to play Achua and Towns a little bit together and see how that looks. I might try to play a little bit more of Towns and Hook Porty together. I don't think Jericho Sims is an answer, in all honesty, for this. But I would like to see them maybe try and do Towns at the 4 like the Timberwolves did a little bit more and see if that can work. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, like the Knicks still have Mitchell Robinson. Eventually, he's going to come back. You might as well try and see what this looks like. Obviously, Mitch is way better than these dudes. But if you think you're going to play that way anyway, and I think they might have to based off of what we've seen in these first 9 games, I think I would like to maybe see what that looks like right now. And maybe move Hart to the bench and you go Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Towns, and Achua when he gets back, or Hook Porty, whatever you want to do. But like a real center who can protect the rim, I think would be really, really good for them at some point. And Yorkel says, that's not a demolish from the Pacers. Look, I mean, it wasn't, because at the end of the day, the Knicks offense is excellent. They're a top 3 offense in the league right now for very good reason. But defensively, they got demolished in this game. We need to kind of call it what it is right now. And look, ultimately, Towns at the 5 was my biggest worry about that trade for the Knicks. And we have not seen evidence yet that against good teams, this is going to go well. And a big piece of this too is like, I saved a lot of my ire for Towns for the most part, but Bridges is not the same defender so far this season that we have seen when he was in Phoenix. I think he's getting caught on screens more often. I think he's been a little bit inflexible through his hips comparatively to what we've seen. So that's what they need. They need to figure out answers defensively. Maybe it involves more switching. Maybe it involves, there are a few different things, but the issue with switching is that then you're switching with Brunson, and Brunson really can't switch. So yeah, I'm interested to figure out where all of this goes.